Hi, welcome to Hope in the Light of Suicide. I'm Tammy White, and we're back after a couple weeks. I'm your host and founder of the Bobby White Foundation. Yes, we've taken a couple week break, and we'll get into that in a moment. But first, I want to thank Area 52 Media Group, John and Austin, for producing our show. Austin, my tech guy behind the scenes, he's great. And our one of our main sponsors, DeLynn Gaston with the mortgage firm, Anything Mortgages. I going out in the community and networking meetings when I hear my friends talk about mortgages and the real estate market and everything, it's so mind-boggling to me. But if you contact her, it won't be so mind-boggling. I guarantee. Anyways, so yes, we've been took a little hiatus, but we're back. So we want to kind of get back into the swing of things. First, I just want to make sure so that I really don't forget. And I mentioned a couple weeks ago, our support groups are back. So our next support groups for December for Nami Hernando for her support group in Hernando at the NAMI office is December 11th at 6:30, and the support group for West Pasco is at the Oasis Coffee Spot on December 19th. So, and I know it's getting close to the holiday, but I really think it's really important that that we still have the groups even that close, because the holidays are hard, and they're hard for a lot of people for many reasons, and for us, they continue to be hard. We're involved with several people that are newer into this journey than I am, and our support team. But that's why we're here to help support them and just be an ear. And sometimes that's just what people need. I mean, I know it's hard. It's been difficult for me. The holidays have always been difficult. And ironically, I should have. I was going to do this before the show, but November the 16th and 17th, November 17th would be Bobby's birthday. I think he would have been 71 on the 17th. And but ironically, my first husband, Michael, who I've mentioned before, his birthday is on the 16th of November. And I have to double check, but I'm pretty sure that I wouldn't forget this. We're actually taping this show on December 3rd, which is 3 years ago. On December 3rd is when we taped our first show. Now, the significance of not only that is that December 3rd, 1987, my first husband, Michael, was killed by a careless driver. So it's been 37 years now that he was killed by a careless driver. So this is my PSA for that. Please, driving is a privilege. It's not a right. And down here in the area, and I'm sure it's this way everywhere, but I've noticed it a lot here where we live in Tampa Bay. The driving is just getting out of hand. We've had so many, in just a few weeks, so many horrible crashes. Every week, at least one or two motorcyclists are killed. And I'm not putting the blame on one or the other because I know both can be to blame, but I know how some of these motorcycle guys, how they drive around here, and it's mind-boggling. And the sad part is when these things happen, whether it's a car accident or a pedestrian. My husband happened to be surveying on US 27 in South Florida back then, and he was on the side of the road, and the guy who hit him should have changed lanes um, to the inside lane, but he didn't. And he actually reported that he didn't know that he had hit my husband and thrown him 30 feet. It took fortunately, there were 2 crew guys up the road a ways so that the crew person that was with my husband could radio, and they had to actually pull their truck across US 27 to stop him. Otherwise, he would have just kept going. And and that crew person who had to make that call happened to be Bobby. But anyways, so that accident changed so many lives, and I think I have a lot of anxiety with when it comes to people that are careless, reckless drivers. And I see it around here all the time. I see it right here in my own house. Again, somebody ran into my fence last week, and that falls part into what I'm going to tell you about what had been going on. And a lot of this, it falls into continued grief after a tremendous loss, and it doesn't have to be suicide grief. That's what mine happens to be, but there's tremendous grief in all sorts of tragedies and even not so tragic events. One of my sisters has, even though she won't acknowledge it, has tremendous grief after the death of our mom. Our mom was 81 years old. She lived a good life. She died in her sleep. But one of my sisters has just this overwhelming grief. And I hope she gets help and can work through it. But anyways, so what ended up happening was, like I said, Bobby's birthday was the 17th. And one of my cats that I got him and his twin brother from a rescue 6 years ago. I actually got them just before the 2nd anniversary of Bobby's suicide. And I named them Felix and Oscar, of course, after the Odd Couple. When they were little babies, I could not even tell them apart. Sometimes when they wit grown, I couldn't tell them apart. But about a week before that, Felix hadn't been feeling very well. And so it came to a point the day after Bobby's birthday. Of course, it's still, I did really good that day. I barbecued a steak and baked potatoes and some broccoli. I made like his favorite birthday dinner and had a Budweiser for him also. And anyways, so that next day, the Monday, I had to take Felix to the vet. He wasn't feeling well. Well, unfortunately, with that visit, I was told that he had cancer. His liver was covered in cancer. It had gone into his lymph nodes. That's Felix on our back porch. That's the last time he got to sit back there. I had to carry him back there, but that's was one of his favorite places. So, anyways, I asked the vet, I said, okay, of course I'm bawling, what do we do now? And he's like, well, you can put him down. And I wasn't ready, to do that. And he had brothers at home. So, and I really, believe in the connection that they have with each other. So I really wanted him to come home. I just couldn't put him down right then. And I just couldn't do it. So we decided to bring him home, and the vet still, he said if he really went downhill to bring him in and, put him down in the office. But I just didn't really want him to die that way. And I think Felix, he would have rather, I think he was more comfortable being at home. And so we took care of him for the week. And ironically, his brother, Oscar, is extremely sensitive. When I brought him home and Felix got out of the crate and all the boys went up to him and Oscar did. And Oscar walked away, went into the back living room and ended up throwing up. Well, a couple years ago when we lost Jack, who was really Bobby's cat, ended up being Bobby's cat, when he was hit by a car and I brought him in before I buried him to let the boys know, Oscar did this exact same thing. So he knew that his brother was dying. So anyway, so we took care of him for the week. The only thing I did that week outside of our house and the office was our Newport Richey support group. And the following Monday, the Monday before Thanksgiving, early in the morning, Felix passed away peacefully. So the day after we found out, I was supposed to tape the show. And then the day after he died, I was supposed to tape the show. Well, my producer, John, is so awesome. I mean, he even knew before I did that there was just no way. And when I found out that he had cancer, I said, I can't tape the show the next day. So last week, after he passed away, I thought I was going to be able to tape the show. And John was like, you really don't have to do this. I totally understand. It's okay. And I'm like, no, I really need to do it. Well, what ended up happening, crazily enough, I had dug his grave and I had come into the house to just chill for a few minutes. And I hear this commotion out front. And so I walk out front and I hear these cars honking, cars going around each other, somebody yelling. And as I'm walking towards the fence across the driveway, I watched and it seemed like it was in slow motion. A car run right into my fence. Again, actually in the same spot that I just repaired a couple of years ago. I'm just like, are you kidding me? Of course, there was a lot of F-bombs going off everywhere. I was out of my mind. So I woke up the next morning and I'm just like, I just can't. So I texted John and I said, I'm sorry. And he has been so great and so wonderful and understanding. Area 52 Media Group were like family, and I've known John and DeLynn for a long time, and Austin has been great since he's come on board, and it's like a family, and it just makes some of these really hard times that you go through just so much easier, even though when you feel you have responsibility to do something, for other people, and just sometimes you just can't, and you just have to take care of yourself. And of course, that was the beginning of Thanksgiving. That was Thanksgiving week. So, and I had spent the weekend making homemade stock, for stuffing, because for Thanksgiving, I make Bobby's stuffing and I make my grandma's dinner rolls. So anyway, so Tuesday, I go out to lunch with some friends, even though I didn't feel like it, but they insisted. And then I go to get the fencing materials to repair the fence. And later in the day, and I just kind of parked the truck by where the fence was busted up. And later in the day, I thought, well, it's getting dark. You need to get the materials out of the truck and move the truck. So I didn't pull the truck in far enough so I could close the gate. So I started up the truck and pulled it forward, shut the truck off, and the starter wouldn't disengage. Turned it back on, it started, moved the truck up, turned it off, it wouldn't disengage. And I'm like, oh man. And this is like a little after 5. So fine, I'm just like, what am I going to do? I know that the only way to turn it off is to disconnect the battery. But if I did that, then I'd have to have somebody come and tow the truck. What am I going to do? So it just hit me that the automotive place, Integrative Auto and Tire, I think is what it's called, on Little and the shops at Golden Acres. They've been doing work on my truck for the last couple of years. I've been having them do the oil changes, and they fixed the AC for me last spring. So I thought, just get the truck up there. It's like half a mile away. So I got the truck up there, turned it off, it shut off. Turned it back on, turned it off, it wouldn't shut off. The guys are coming out, and they're like, oh my God, what's going on? And I'm like, it won't shut off. The truck's starting to smoke. One of the guys yells, go get a fire extinguisher. Tammy, back into the parking spot. And so I'm backing into the parking spot. There's smoke coming out of the truck. He frantically is disconnecting the battery before my truck bursts into flames. And he got it stopped. But by that time, well, fortunately, by that time, I guess, the starter was bright red, but it didn't catch on fire. And this is actually, the truck is actually Bobby's truck. It was a truck that we bought him years ago. I mean, we bought it. It's a 96 Dodge Ram 1500. We bought it in 97. I think it had like 30,000 miles on it. And anyway, so it was like the first year they came out with might have been the second year, they came out with a new design where the truck looked like, the big trucks. Anyways, so fortunately the truck didn't catch on fire. Those guys were awesome. And I had they had, the starter was replaced, some wiring was replaced, some connections were replaced, but they had the truck back to me by about 1:30 Wednesday afternoon. And knock on wood, so far so good. But that's what the last couple weeks before just right up into Thanksgiving was like. And when you're the emotions are running high anyways, and so when things like this happen and things go wrong, everything is just so heightened. But Thanksgiving was a really great day. Stuffing came out good. Grandma's rolls worked. I went to our nieces' tamales for Thanksgiving with family, my 2 sister-in-laws and brother-in-law, and my niece's husband and his side of the family. And it was just it was a good time. It was a good time. And so the next day, Friday, and I'm like, okay, feeling good. Everything's, kind of getting back to normal. Of course, we're still all sad, for losing Felix. You have that high of the holiday day. And my cats, I still have 3 boys. But they really felt the loss also. So anyway, Friday, I have all these plans of things to do around here, and I just could not do anything. I just couldn't do nothing. And I'm like, what? What is wrong? I'm like, I know we're still sad for Felix, and it's holidays. People, for various reasons, even though most people are really happy during the holidays, there's a lot of people that the holidays are really hard hard time. And I try and remind people that sometimes. But anyways, so I guess, it's not the first time that it's happened, and it didn't, and I'm sure that it happened, it doesn't have to be like a holiday like Thanksgiving. It could be an anniversary, a birthday, any significant event in your life. But there's this thing called, and I didn't know this, a grief hangover. And it's what happens to a person after an event. I'm just going to use as an example my Thanksgiving Day. I got up that morning, did all my cooking, got everything ready. I did cry during the parade because I'm doing Bobby's stuffing when he's supposed to be doing his stuffing. But it was a moment, and everything, went really good. But come Friday, I just couldn't get myself to do anything. And I mean, it happens to me. This is what I believe. It, things come to you through the universe when you need them. And this thing came up about a holiday hangover. And so I started looking into it, and it is really an actual thing. And it was like, and it kind of, in a way, I mean, I don't know. I mean, for me, it kind of made me feel a little bit better that I just wasn't like, okay, you've been going through this for 8 years, you should be, blah, blah, blah. But that's not the case. I mean, it's a real thing. So and then it makes me dig into it a little bit more so that I can bring the information to you guys, or at least give you a little bit more information so that you can dig into it for yourselves. But we're going to be looking into that a little bit more, especially with this time of year, being what it is. There's going to be, a lot of holiday parties, a lot of celebrations. Some you may feel like going to, some you may not feel like going to. And if you don't feel like going, don't feel bad. And if you do go, and even afterwards you feel bad, it's okay. It's okay. It's just the way it is. And if we don't feel our feelings and feel our grief, we're never going to work through it. And that's what we need to do in order to get to be better and to learn and to survive this. So that's my saga. But anyways, besides all that, something really good did happen during this time. So I'm a member of an organization called Community Service Council, which we do a lot of things in the community, and they raise money to give back to local nonprofits. And our nonprofit, the Bobby White Foundation, was awarded a small grant, which I am very grateful for, $500. And the grant that I put forward was to do a 10-week support group. We've went through one of his books before, but it's Understanding Your Suicide Grief. And with this 10-week support group course that we're going to be doing, it'll probably start in January. You get the book Understanding Your Suicide Grief and Understanding Your Suicide Grief Journal. And it's going to be limited space. I was hoping we would get enough grant money to do 3 throughout the year, but at least we got enough to do 1. So I'm really grateful for that. And along with this, we're going to be doing at the end of each class or during each meeting, art therapy. So it'll be Understanding Your Suicide Grief and art therapy. So I'm really excited about that. Teresa Daniels, who is our co-facilitator for the West Pasco group, will be co-facilitating this with me. And so we'll have room for this first group for 8 people. And we're hoping to hold it at the Oasis Coffee Spot. So yeah, I'm excited about that. The books came in the day before Thanksgiving. I was so excited. It's something that I've wanted to do. I still do want to raise enough money so I can go out and do a couple trainings with Dr. Wolfelt out in Colorado or Arizona at his Center for Loss and Life Transition. But excuse me, a couple of years ago, we did do a series with The Wilderness of Suicide Grief, one of his books, when we would go through, we're going through books chapter by chapter. So this just is like an extenuation of this. So I'm hoping in August I'll be able to go out and do the specific hands-on training, with him, but we're still going to move forward with it. I do have a training book for running the support group, and then being trained with AFSP for running the support group. So we're excited about that. That's going to, we don't have the date yet, but we're going to start that in probably in January, maybe towards the end of January, so we can wrap it up before April, as April is both Teresa and mine's anniversary for our suicide losses. So we're excited about that. Yes. So with the holidays coming, our quote for today is, "Those we love can never be more than a thought away. For as long as there's a memory, they will live in our hearts to stay." And that is absolutely true. They will always be with us, and what we're doing is keeping their life and legacy alive. Please remember to put the numbers in your phone, have them readily available. If nothing else, memorize them. This is a tough time of year for a lot of people. Keep an eye on your family and friends. And remember, there is always hope. Thank you.